Hello, my name's Keith Gilmore and I play the monster in A Monster Calls. Today I'll be reading a story by Ofek Ayun called A Lighthouse of Humanity. Orphanhood was floating in the air. It was a different kind of orphanhood, a more intense one and less familiar. She met Jude for the first time when she was 8. Her father used to visit the small bookstore that had just opened at the time. Even before they entered the store, she could already picture the light in Jude's eyes, smiling at them kindly from behind the counter. 4 years later, Jude became her best friend. She used to go to the store every day after school and sit there until darkness drowned the streets. They talked about everything, about school and stories and poetry, about love, justice and truth. And Jude just sat there and listened carefully, protecting her with her good, warm eyes. Jude was in her 40s. Her eyes were dark and wise, and when she laughed they shone with grace. Jude loved the stories and the tales, but more than anything, she loved poetry. When she read a poem, her voice became soft and the words became hers. The world would hold its breath. Jude was also a poet herself, but they had an unspoken agreement. She couldn't read Jude's poems. Both of them knew that poetry could hold things that nothing else could. The frailty and the danger of honesty. She saw Jude as a friend and as a teacher, sometimes as a mother. Every time she had a problem, she knew that Jude will make it seem different, easier and happier. Jude was a lighthouse of humanity. The days with Jude were the best days of her life. Nothing prepared her for that moment in which she noticed the bruises for the first time. They were small blue spots on her arms, decorating them with pain and sickness. She didn't need to ask. Jude didn't need to answer. Somehow she just knew what was going on without Jude needing to say it. The days had passed and she could see how Jude became thinner and weaker, but still she came to the shop every day. She kept smiling and laughing and writing. Those days, Jude was more alive than she ever was. So alive, she never thought she could die. The following weeks were a swirl of sadness and attrition. The fog of loss refused to disappear. It took her 3 months to have the courage to go back to the bookstore. She was the only person except Jude to hold the key. She entered the place, and the sound of the doorbell, the smell of chocolate and old books, it was all there but Jude. She sat behind the counter and opened the little drawer that was saved for Jude's important things. She found her poetry book she was never allowed to read and opened it, knowing the time has come. And there she was. In every poem and every word, she could hear her voice coming out of the pages, telling her she will never be left alone.